Good evening, Hawks fans. Welcome back to another Talking Hawks live stream. Joined tonight by Chris to go through our 50-point win against the West Coast Eagles. Well, we came into this week wanting a bounce back for the side, and we got that, sort of. We got the 4 points on the board, but I feel like we still weren't really close to our best. Chris, what were your thoughts from the game on Sunday afternoon?
Yes, like you said, did what we needed to do. We got the win, 50 points. It's pretty solid. But missed out on a percentage booster for sure. But it was just the way we went about it. It was a bit lackluster, some easy disposals that were missed, turnovers.
Yeah.
Some lazy chasing at times even. So, there was quite a few negatives in what was a 50-point win, can you say?
Yeah, it was kind of a frustrating watch for a win like that. When you look at the scoreboard, we did score, I think, maybe 3 goals late in the last to bump it over to that 50-point margin. But if you look at some of the stats, it's hard to say that was a stellar performance. I mean, our disposal efficiency was worse than last week against the Cats, and we talked about how poor it was then. So that's, and our kicking on goal, well, that was an issue, especially early on. Lots of things to take out. It's Mitchell talking in his presser saying, we've got a lot to improve on still, and I tend to agree with that. There's still a lot to come, and luckily we've got a few matches where we can try and build into form. I'm thinking maybe it's not going to be just that one week bounce back to looking exactly like the team we were at the start of this year, at the end of last year. It's probably going to take maybe a few games to get back into the swing of things. But, yeah, just a few concerns, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, Sam Mitchell's starting to sound like a broken record at his press conferences. Keeps repeating those phrases that we get to know. But, 2 goals, 8 in that first quarter. There was a missed opportunity there. After that, we kicked 7 goals, 2 second quarter. So that was pretty handy. That was a good little quarter there. I think the West Coast beat us in the third quarter too. From memory, what they said on the commentary. But we still kicked 3 goals, 4 in the quarter. But 6 goals, 2 in the last. That was a solid effort just to sort of push that margin right out.
Yeah. They started to get a bit of a roll on in that last. They were winning a lot of clearances and things like that. But last 5 minutes, we outrun them in the end, scoring a few late cheapies, which was good to see. Made a few perplexing moves in that last quarter, including Barras forward, which I'm sure we'll talk about soon, because that was definitely a talking point that's come out of that game. But it was one of those days where it's like, okay, we got the win, we got the 4 points, a little bit of a percentage boost. I think maybe 5 or 6%. Would have loved to be more. It could have been more for sure, but and then we move on. We probably don't look at that game as one of our standouts for the season. So it's probably move on to next week type of job, that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start with some positives. Lord Meek.
Yeah, what a performance.
Game. What do you have? 58 hitouts, which I think was a Hawthorn record, beating McAvoy's previous record.
Yeah, the club posted that.
54, I think. 19 disposals, 3 marks, 4 tackles. So he was as good as it gets, really.
Yeah, for sure. Like, absolutely dominant, easily best on ground for me. I think to do what he did, even in a midfield that was kind of fresh to him, like he hadn't been playing with Huswaite, Ward, McKenzie, like those guys, maybe he's not as used to having in there, but it didn't look like it at all. Like, he was just hitting it where they wanted it, being really aggressive around the ground, rarely getting beaten, and taking on the tackler as well, which he can do with his size, getting those contested possessions and those handballs out in congestion. So absolutely loved the game from Meek. He's been one of our top tier reliable players this year.
Like I said, Ned Reeves had a good game in Box Hill, so he keeps pushing. He's been fairly solid, sitting there in the background, waiting for his opportunity to arise. But Nick's not really giving him a look in, is he? Would you say that midfield? So I may as well move on to Huswaite. We could leave it, but may as well talk about it now. Pretty solid performance. He's obviously deserved his spot. He's
Yeah.
Was he averaging 34 or something in the last 3 games at Box Hill?
Mm-hmm.
So we're just hoping he could follow that form in. Obviously, we knew it's a different setup. He was in for 12 centre bounce attendances compared to sort of Jai and Warps, who had 24 and 22. So not quite getting the opportunity, I guess, that he would at Box Hill. But I think he was the 3rd highest disposal on the ground, was he, or 4th? But yeah, couldn't ask for much more. At one point, I was just like, "Oh, I haven't seen him much," and then all of a sudden, he's got 20 touches. So
yeah,
he just quietly goes about his business. He's not there for highlight reels. He's there. He's all about business and getting the job done.
Yeah, I thought he really built into the game. Maybe a few kind of nervy kicks at the start, but really in that second half, I thought he stood up and had some great, really showed his footy IQ, like picking out kicks that were really nice, which is, you don't expect that from a midfielder who's, under pressure all the time. So yeah, I really liked what Huss bought. And yeah, you pointed out only getting that 36% centre bounce attendances, which is really interesting. I saw he started half forward once or twice, started half back once or twice in that last quarter. Not sure whether I like that. I would love to see him just get that full mid-roll for a couple of weeks and see what he can do from there. I think, just playing around with him a bit when we know his best role is in that mid position. I think, hopefully in the next few weeks we can see that bumped up a bit more with Hustwaite.
Yeah, Shane's corrected me, 2nd in disposals. So, yeah, pretty solid outing for him. So I was just hoping he would sort of get 3 consecutive games just as a bare minimum without any risk of getting dropped. And I don't think he dropped off that performance at all.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not. I think, he should be given these. So Nash is out for 4 games. He should be given these 4 games without being subbed on, subbed off, anything like that. And just see what he can produce there and see what his future holds in this team, if there is a spot for him in this group.
Yeah. There will be a few changes this week, but we'll get to that.
Who else in the midfield did you like?
Midfield? Yep. All right, before we go to battle. I thought Cam McKenzie's just really consistent.
Yeah.
His confidence in his own game, taking people on. He's, he's wearing tackles. He's making his own tackles. His just confidence has gone through the roof, and you can see, with the way he plays now. Really liked his game.
Yeah, I think he's a really reliable one now that we can kind of look to each week and know what to expect from him. And continuing to build on that with consistent time in that midfield week to week is really good, going to be really good for him and set him up for the future. And I think poise is a great word there. Definitely has that ability. And I think in terms of that midfield, if we want to look at some of our other players, I thought Warple was really good early, like the first half, and then the second half Newcomb really stood up. So Newcomb also had kind of like an interesting role. I feel like he didn't go into the midfield as much as he has done normally. Like I saw him starting forward quite a bit. Maybe they were just giving him a little bit of a rest for this game. But I think when he went in there, it really changed. Like in the last quarter, we had a few centre bounces in a row without Newcomb in there. And as soon as we put him back in, we got that next clearance. So he's really important. But I thought the midfield contingent did well as a group against, one of the weaker midfields in the league, especially without some of their, key players in Kelly and Yo.
Yep. I found it interesting with the matchups with Harley Reid. We sort of rotated players onto him. There was no sort of set person that was going to him. And I thought they contained him fairly well between the group.
Yeah, he did kick 2 goals in the end, but I thought with his work in the midfield, I think he had something like 10 clangers or, very poor efficiency for him as a game, and looked a bit frustrated in moments. But I thought, whoever was on him at stoppages really, like, he didn't look super dangerous there, but it did a little bit when he was moving forward. But I think, what they did to work on him was good. And I think
talking about Harley Reid, I loved the chase down tackle by the Wiz.
Oh yeah, how good was that? They're best mates. Well, yep. I'm pretty sure they're still best mates. So yeah,
I was waiting for a reaction, and then as soon as he's seen who tackled him, he just smiled.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So who knows? There's been plenty of talk about Harley Reid to Hawthorn or to a Victorian club. I mean, I wouldn't mind having him here. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, we were talking about that and sort of can we handle his ego, or would that change when he's playing for a better team? Don't know. Obviously, he's got the ability. But even just him with our dynamic, I guess we would adjust to work around him. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you're not going to say no, but it's just that little factor of, that ego that I'm a little bit worried about.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like if there's any coach that could really mentor someone, it could be Sam Mitchell with a player like Harley. But yeah, I don't know. We'd have to give up a fair bit for him, I would assume, with future picks coming into consideration for the next couple of years at this year's draft means we've got. I mean, every club has a lot of assets to be able to ship around. So interesting. It's going to be interesting if that gets any more weight. I think I've a few comments about Oscar Allen. I'm like 99% sure that is definitely not happening. I think he was pretty upset, embarrassed by what was leaked in the media about him meeting up with Sam Mitchell and everything that came around with that. So I don't think Oscar Allen is coming down here anymore. I think he's probably got his sights set on maybe Brisbane or potentially just staying put where he is. But a few little potential future Hawthorn players to discuss there.
Yeah, it's a long time in the season before that plays out, so can't get too caught up in all that. Yeah,
exactly. So talking about Battle, he was another one of our best players. I thought he had probably one of his better games in the brown and gold this week. Leading disposal getter on the ground with 29. I thought he was really strong defensively and also was able to spark a bit of our attack. Yeah, with those 420 metres gain. Also had something like 7 or 8 score involvements, which is not easy to do from playing in your defensive 50. So, yeah, really loved the game from from Battle.
Yeah, just early on, he just was impenetrable. He just doing it at ease, really. So, yeah, it was a bit almost like a training drill for him. And I think, did I see his name? Yeah, 7 score involvements.
So 7.
Not bad coming off the back line. It looked like at one stage he might have tried to have a ping and it just didn't quite come off the boot properly. But, super impressive. Wouldn't surprise me if he's not too far off the Peter Crimmins medal. I reckon he might be sitting around the top 5 right now.
Yeah. Listening to Sam Mitchell's presser, they did say maybe looking to move Battle forward at some point in the next couple of weeks just to give it a go, see how it works. But it's pretty hard when he's going this well at the moment.
Yeah, well, I guess his basis was if Sicily is playing good down back, you don't want to compromise and move him. So, whereas he's probably done the opposite when Sicily's having a little bit of an off game, he's sort of moved him forward for that change. So, Sicily. Do we talk about Sicily now? He's been off a few weeks.
Yeah, he's definitely been off. It's just, I feel like maybe we could have used a rest this week with Sicily. I don't think it can happen this week now that Amon and Scrimshaw are going to miss, but maybe he just needed a break. Looks a bit tired, a little bit sore and sorry for himself at the moment. Good to get him like a full game down back to try and get back into the swing of things. I did feel later in the game he did look a little bit more composed, was hitting some of those nice kicks that we picture when we think of Sicily kicking. So hopefully this is just a blip. These things happen. Take a few more games to build that confidence up and get back into the swing of things, I hope.
Oh, well, he wasn't as bad as he was against Geelong. Like I've probably made it sound like he had a bad game. I think he still had 20 touches or something. So it wasn't a bad game. It's just he set the bar so high. We just expect so much of him. So hopefully he sort of, like you said, just he's warming up, and hopefully he's firing on all cylinders in the next couple of weeks. We will need it in the next few weeks.
Yeah, exactly. I think, we get one good game from Sicily and he's back again, I think, and that'll come, I'm sure, in the next few weeks if he's the player we think he is, and we know, he's been a strong captain for this side for the last few years. So, just wait for that big, spike game that we know from him, and he'll get back into it. There's no need to worry about Sicily too much. I don't think he knows that he's probably a bit down on form, and I'm sure he'll be working with all the coaches there to, just get back into the swing of things.
Yep. And like I said, we weren't at our best, but one stat that I did look at, I think we only had 3 players under 10 disposals, which was Barras with 9, Bailey McDonald coming on as the emergency with 8, and Scrimshaw, who went off with 5.
Yeah.
Had almost every player on the ground have 10 disposals is pretty impressive. Yeah,
I didn't know that stat. That's a good one. I think to get everyone involved shows signs of like team, the team working well together, looking for each other. I had a bit of, negative opinions on how the team worked together last week against Geelong, but once you start getting everyone involved, it makes it feel a lot more like there's that team consistency all together.
Yep. Oh, well, it'll sort of boost their confidence having that win still. It's going to be a tough run after Richmond and Melbourne. And even that's no certainty. Richmond had a pretty good game against Gold Coast, and then they sort of dropped off the following week. But yeah, I think it's our centenary game against Richmond. So yeah, it's a game that they'll be striving to win for sure. I think they'll bring in a few past players and fire up the boys during the week, I reckon.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that's exactly what we would need at a time like this. It just needs a little bit more energy in the group. You saw it slowly start to come back with some of the celebrations and things like that during the game. But yeah, just a boost of energy, I think, around the club will do them a world of good, especially, in a game that's going to be really massive for them, bringing a lot of past players to the ground to have a little ceremony for all the fans, I think, before the game starts. So make sure to get down there, because I think it'll be a good spectacle for all us Hawks fans. So yeah, hopefully this is exactly what they needed to really get their heads in the game for this week, which, this team predicted to not win a game, predicted to be the worst team in the comp. And you can't look at it like that when they've won 2 games and just won against Gold Coast the other week, who are, a very good side this year. So yeah, there's no reason to take this lightly.
Not at all. Anyone else in the back line we want to talk about before we move maybe to the forward line?
Interesting. Maybe I can talk about Hardwick to transition into the forward line as well, because I think the last few weeks we've had issues with small forwards. We had Willie Rioli against Port. We had Sean Manor, and this week we had Liam Ryan play really well and kick 3 or 4 goals each, those blokes, when we played them. And Hardwick in the forward line, I don't know. What do you think? I feel like it's time to just, especially with Gear coming back, not this week, but probably the week after, I think it's time to just pull the pin on that experiment for now. I think just start him back, let him be that star small defender we know him to be. This year, we've barely even talked about him because he hasn't had much impact on any game yet, because he's just been swinging back and forth.
I think as if his forward craft, he's best as a leading forward, and the way we've been moving the ball hasn't given him a great deal of opportunity to get good delivery. So I think he's just struggling. He can crumb, and be there, run past for the hand pass. He knows how to play, but he just hasn't had the impact that he did last year in the forward line. So we've got a pretty tall back line, so it is handy to have him down back.
Yeah, I think we're just struggling a little bit on those smaller forwards, and we know he's so good at locking some of those guys up. So I'd love to see him in the next couple of weeks just slowly transition back to the back line, and just let him.
Impey.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's another player. I thought he had a better game than he has probably in the last couple of weeks. Still, his kicking's been a little bit iffy, but so has most of our back line. But I feel like because of Hardwick playing down forward, he's had to play that lockdown role on one of those smalls. And it's compromising him as well. It's taking his attacking game style out of the game. He can't really run and dash with it anymore because he's not getting that separation off his player. So I think, we can improve two things just by moving Hardwick back, which is hopefully, locking down some of those smalls a bit better and letting Impey run a bit free, because we've needed some run off halfback. We haven't had too much. We've had CJ, who's been going okay, who's really fast. Weddle, who's been doing really great in the last couple of weeks. But just a little bit more run from Impey I'd love to see, because that's why he was one of our best players last season, was because of that run and carry and his ability to, get the ball moving forward quickly. Yep.
We're dying to talk about the replacements for Scrimshaw and Amon, but we will push forward with the forwards because there's lots of players that could move around. So I don't think we're going to necessarily bring in Backman to fill those holes. But Gimme.
Yeah.
Gimmy's been great.
What
did he have?
I thought it was a great game for him to get back into the swing of things with. He looked really, really solid. Didn't look like he missed a step. Probably one of his better games so far this year, which was good to see, coming off being dropped the week previous, and getting some of that excitement back, as I said earlier, with a few celebrations and things like that, looking like he's actually enjoying his footy.
Yep, he 2 goals, 17 disposals, 4 marks, 7 tackles. So, and I think 3 of those were in the forward 50. So, obviously got that sort of wake-up call being sent down to Box Hill, and he played a bloody brilliant game down there, and he's brought the form back up.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly what we needed. If we were going to drop him down, you need a good performance in Box Hill, straight back in, and you're good to go, which is what it looked like. So, love that for Guinea. I think as long as he just keeps doing what he's doing. I really like his work, not even necessarily inside 50, but just on the outskirts when he's kicking or handballing. I feel like his footy IQ really stands out when he's moving the ball inside 50. He's good at finding, our players leading, or where to find the next handball or kick.
Yep. Big Charlie.
Yeah, what a game.
He was our highest ranked player on the ground besides Meekie, who just dominated. So that's pretty good as a power forward. 3 goals, 17 disposals, 9 marks. Was absolutely clunking him. And 4 tackles as well. So
laid some great tackles.
Chasing was really good on the weekend.
Yeah, I thought 2 weeks in a row of really good performances from Chol, which is exactly what you need for someone who's kind of a confidence player in the sense. Really liked what he brought. He was just, as you said, some of those marks were great to watch live. Really strong. When he's taking those marks, we look like such a better team. So hopefully that continues. Loved his game. He's working really, really hard. Like it's tricky to be this singular tall in a forward line like that, and especially when you've barely played like any of your career as that sole tall. When he was at Richmond, he had Jack Rewalt there. When he was at Gold Coast, Ben King, Casbolt, guys like that. And right now he's our sole guy. So I think when Deer comes back in a couple of weeks, it's going to do so many good things to him. I'm excited for Deer to come back, not just to see Deary out there, but for what it's going to do for this forward line and Chol specifically.
Yeah. I don't know where that leaves Gunners. I'm guessing he'll keep playing because he's on fire at the moment. Did he have 4 goals too, I think?
So he's 4 goals 2 and potentially 1 out on the full, I think. or 1 didn't make the distance.
So he's averaging 3.4 goals a game, which is quite impressive. So he's not far off there. He's up there in the Coleman, and he missed a game or 2 at the start of the season. So
missed a game and was sub for another. So unbelievable. So averaging 3.4, as you said, which puts him 4th behind Jesse Hogan, Peter Wright, who's only played the 2 games, I think, and Ben King, who's leading the Coleman medal at the moment. So, yeah, what another great performance from Gunston. It's just, we spoke about this last week as well. When he was at Brisbane, you thought, okay, well, maybe good we got him off the books because he's just not looking like anything like what he was. But his turnaround, and even I said in pre-season when I went down to training a few times, I was like, he was just running so smoothly. He looks even better than he did in the pre-season previous when he first came back to Hawthorn. He just looks, he looks so fit, ready to go. But obviously, someone you can't rely on for the next 5 years. So we need to start getting some goals into some of the younger boys. But for now, it's working really well. But at what point does he need a rest? Because he's now played at least a month of footy, full games. So, tricky for Gunners because at some point he will need a rest. But maybe that's when Deer comes back.
I wouldn't mind seeing him sort of maybe be the sub for the next couple of weeks with that big string of games against the top 8 teams that we've got coming up. He led the Hawks for score involvements as well with 12. That's very impressive. He's just so smart, uses the ball well, and he just dominates. Love seeing one of the ex-stars of the game really wind back the clock and look good so consistently for the last couple of weeks. Same with Side Bottom, if we want to give a shout out to another old bloke that's going very well at the moment. Love what he's doing. And it's good that we have someone reliable. Now, has his kicking been a little bit off? Well, yes, a little bit, but so is the whole team. I think that's just something you will do at training all week, hopefully, is just keep taking shots at goal because, it's been a bit frustrating the last couple of weeks. I was thinking in the middle of the game, is there literally any forward we have or any player on the field right now that I would have full trust in having a shot at goal? It used to be Maury. Now he's been way off recently. Charles, wishy-washy sometimes. Gunston has been going pretty well, but Sicily's another one you say, you back him in. Hardwick as well. Such a good kick on goal last year. Wouldn't miss. This time, just missing easy shots around the body, things like that. So, hard to pick someone to kick for your life in that side at the moment. Yeah, no, definitely. We're talking about, we ended up 18-16, so we did have more goals and points in the end.
Yeah.
From 56 entries, that's 34 scoring shots, but more impressively, 32% of those forward entries resulted in goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a good. Yeah. It's a good conversion. As scrappy as it was, it was good. It was a good effort. It was just a little bit lackluster and wasn't totally convincing. Like you pull that performance against another team, like Geelong, for example. That's how we played, and it cost us the game. So I don't know how we improve. And I don't know exactly where we're going wrong besides just poor disposal, which half of them are not even under pressure. So
it's odd. It's like as soon as the media started talking about us being the best kicking team, it everyone started kicking terribly the next couple of weeks. It was like an absolute moz of the century on this side. But Mitchell said in last week's press conference that you don't want to be a side based off good kicking because that can go any which way any week. So we need to figure out what our game plan is when we can't kick.
Well, I think our pressure rating was up around 200 for a good portion of the game. So I think that's where we really put West Coast under the pump and sort of punish them. But
I think we scored 77 points, 11-11 from turnover.
Wow.
Yeah, which is well above our average for the season.
Yep, nice, good start.
Should we have a chat about Amon and Scrimshaw? They will be missing at least next week with concussion. I feel like I'm hoping for Scrimshaw that it's not a really bad concussion because he just had one, say, a month ago now. Having 2 in this short period of time is not very good. Sometimes can mean a couple of extra weeks on the sideline, but he did get I believe it was like a knee in the back of his head, something like that, and then played for at least another quarter, I think, and then and then came off. So hopefully it's not too bad and he can just miss the week. But yeah, unfortunately we're gonna have those two out, which is really frustrating as a supporter because those guys are so crucial. And Amon, as I said, he's nearly been our best player all year. So yeah, really, really frustrating that we have them out, but it means, once 2 soldiers out, 2 soldiers in, and we can have a quick chat about Box Hill because you mentioned it before. It's not necessarily going to be 2 defenders in. So it's going to be hard because there was a lot of great performances at Box Hill on the weekend. They got a great win over the Borough, 123-85. A lot of good performances with Scaife kicking 6, Finn McGuinness having 38. I thought Frosty kicked 2 goals, so he played back for a half, played forward for another half. Reeves had a good game as well. The obvious ones you think for defenders are like Frost, Sarong, even Seamus Mitchell, Blank, Blank, CJ, those type of guys. But yeah, who are you thinking about bringing in? I've seen lots of names thrown around.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. Talking about losing Amon, I think that would be a good time to bring Hardwick back using his lethal kicking. Like you said, that frees up Jars to sort of be a bit more penetrating and using that running and dash. Probably play Sicily back, like you said.
Yes,
hopefully he can get back into a bit of form just by ignoring that forward role and just playing down back. So for me, and I know because it's against Richmond, I think it's the ideal time to probably give Scaife a go. I know he's had a few games where he's kicked sort of 2, 3s and 4s, but to kick 6, I think he's put his hand up. So just see what he's got, see if he's got what it takes. Apart from that, I mean, CJ's, I think, 26 disposals playing in the back line. Pretty solid. I think it's a bit early for Kalsh. We'd all love him back, but I think they'll persist with him for at least one more.
Yeah, he only played the half.
How many minutes he's played? He only played a half, did he?
Only played the first half.
Yeah, I think they might push that to maybe 3/4 of a game next week, and then depends. Maybe they'll try to get him to play a full game before they put him up to the seniors.
Yeah, I think with Blank also someone saying they like Blank. I think maybe he might just be another one that will need to be at Box Hill for a few more weeks just based on fitness alone because he's coming back from that ACL. But yeah, Jeb agrees with you here. Dimmer back to cover, Amon, Scaife in to stretch the target tools.
I was just about to say that too. I'd like to see Bailey McDonald stay up there. His running carry is really good. He backed himself in, which is, I'm sure, what he was told. So, yeah, I'd be happy to keep him in for another game. And like I said, I'll be looking at maybe playing Gunners as a sub, especially if we're putting Scaife forward. If that happens, then if Scaife's not on, it doesn't matter who comes off. Gunners just comes on and probably goes forward and somebody else rotates around.
Yep, I think that's probably something they'll look at. Either I'm thinking, I feel like they really like CJ. I agree with Shane here. Still fumbled a lot. I watched majority of the game and he was still a bit fumbly and decision making's just not up to scratch yet for mine. But they do really love him. So if I'm thinking from, what I think's going to happen versus what I want, I think we potentially could see CJ back in. But yeah, as you said, I would love to see Scaife if we're playing Richmond, why not give him a go to see what happens? I mean, we saw Cal Shadir come in last year, completely unlikely prospect to be a mainstay in that side, but just give it a go. There's nothing can go wrong there really. So I would love to see him have a go. I think Frost is also a decent chance to come in. Good to get maybe another kind of senior leader down in the back line maybe. I mean, we know he's not the best kick either, but he is a great defender, and I mean they've been swinging him forward recently, so that's also another option if they've loved swinging people forward. So if they want to do that with Frosty as well. I mean, we did have Frost as the sub in some of the early games, which was a bit confusing. Yep, which is a bit confusing. So maybe that's a role he plays. I thought Bailey McDonald, besides his first kick, which was an absolute shank that went straight to the opposition, everything else he did, he looked really fun. Like, great to get that burst of speed off that back line, which we've needed.
I think that was his only clanger for the game. The rest of his disposals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So liked what he did. He can move from sub for sure. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I think
neither of us really mentioned Finn. We said he played a good game, but is he a chance to come back in? We know Sam loves him and he's very flexible to play lots of positions.
Yeah, the fact that he's been playing kind of that half forward role means I feel like we probably don't see him, just because, as you said, move Hardwick back, bring Finn in, could be very likely. It could be a possibility as well. But if this is time for experimentation. Sam Mitchell showed that he wanted to experiment, which we can have a chat about that soon. But yeah, so maybe this is the time to try some of the younger kids that haven't had a go yet, or haven't had as much game. We know what McGuinness can bring. I don't think he's ever going to play, turn into a superstar player, but we know what he can bring. So if they want that reliability, sure, they can do that. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting on Friday night when we get the full team and we see who's in, who's out, because it could be anyone really.
Yeah, or even Seamus Mitchell, 22 disposals, 8 marks. He's always played fairly well. Sometimes he's had a role to play at AFL level, so he doesn't necessarily win a heap of the ball. But again, he probably hasn't had an opportunity for a while. So yeah, I guess it might come down to matchups and how they want to
exactly. I think if we're looking at direct like for like, Seamus Mitchell plays a very similar role to what Amon does, and is a bit more defensive as well, which is good. And people forget that he was kind of a mainstay in that side last year for very early on, and unfortunately had 1 week out with injury and then just couldn't get back into the side. So he was playing a really consistent role in the team. So I think he could do that if they recall him. I'm not sure whether, if they're going off VFL form, maybe he hasn't put in any amazing games yet that demand he be recalled. But yeah, I think another one, Ramsden, he's been going well at Box Hill, just unfortunately didn't have a massive game on the weekend, which makes it a little bit harder for him to come in. Maybe if Meeks needs a little bit of a chop out, they could look to do that. But I'm not sure if, Ramsden has done enough really to get recalled just at the moment.
Yeah, like I said, his early season form, again, I think like Scaife, he had a few games where he kicked 3 goals and rucked and was really good. And now Ned Reeves has taken the role. Maybe that's why he's lost his mojo, but he's not playing in the middle and he's just sort of not finding enough ball down forward.
Yeah. Sarong, Chris is saying 100% Sarong over Frost. I mean, Sarong played in that final last year, and I thought he was pretty solid until he got moved on. Unfortunately, got moved on to Georgiades in the last quarter when Thistley moved forward, which is a hard ask, with Georgiades being, in my opinion, one of the hardest matchups in the league. But anyways, I think Sarong, he's very consistent. Winner of the, I can't remember the name of the
JJ Liston.
Yes, I think that's it. JJ Liston medal down at Box Hill, which means he was their MVP for the year. Really strong, consistent performer down there. So if they need to bring him in, that's another one that's a very like for like swap with someone like Scrimshaw. Yeah,
so there's probably at least 6, 7, 8 names that wouldn't be surprised to come in. There's no real standouts, in my opinion. But yeah, I've been wanting to see Scaife tried at AFL level, and hoping we see.
Yep, for sure. So now we can probably move on. I'd love to have a chat about, because it's been weighing on my mind since the game played out, was what Sam Mitchell was doing in the coach's box with two things, with the brass moving forward in that last quarter and how he spoke about it in the press conference, and then also what he was doing with the midfield mix. I felt he really came into this game being like, we're going to win and let's just experiment, which on one hand, you go, okay, I mean, we should be winning. You should be in that mindset of, okay, we need to win this game. But maybe it's hard to say arrogance because I feel like that's a bit too harsh of a word. But to go in and play Barras forward and then just to do anything with our midfield mix. We had Huswaite, Ward, Dylan Moore, and Watson all run through there when we only had our, Mackenzie with 58% CBAs, Warple with 67, and Newcomb with 73. It was split over so many people that we couldn't really get heaps of consistency in there. I don't know how well that fares for, the next couple of weeks when we really need to be on our A game. But yeah, I don't know if I loved all the playing around he was doing when the game actually wasn't that dominant. Like, we weren't winning easily, and they got within, I think, like 31, 32 points in that last quarter. Now, I didn't feel like they were ever going to come back, but it wasn't a game that we just walked in and won and easy. I'm not sure why we needed to play around with so many things when we needed to get in there, win by a lot.
Yep. But I mean, when else do you do it? So you're not going to do it against
great counterpoint.
Your team, is it? So, but like you said, there was a few interesting moves. The Barras one, I thought it might have just been a little cheeky one, more so than actually.
Yeah.
Have you seen him play forward at training? I don't know. Maybe with Timmy.
No, he did play.
I think it was one career goal, and it would have just sort of rub it in their face a little bit to kick a goal against them. Is what I felt. And I think Andrew McQualter felt the same way. Yeah.
So he did. Barras. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Interesting listen is that McQualter press conference, but. So Barras did play a little bit of forward for West Coast like last year in one game, I think, and then didn't kick a goal, got moved back. But yeah, his only goal in his career has come from a 50-meter penalty. So yeah, not a known goal kicker at all.
I think a good mark, but he didn't really find himself in that position, did he?
Now I think if we're being honest here, the only thing I can think of, and I've got a bit of evidence to back this up, is that he's probably a little bit sore, a little bit injured. I saw the runner coming out to him multiple times in that last quarter, or not even the runner, the physio to come out to him a few times, pointing at his foot, things like that. But the thing is, Mitchell wasn't honest about that. He was just like, yep, we wanted to try Barras forward, yep. And the fact that he said we'll look at doing it more in the future was really interesting. He's like, yeah, we want to try him up forward a bit more in the coming weeks, which is just so odd. Like, it didn't look like it was working at all. He couldn't really move, which was another thing. Like, he couldn't really run, which is why I think he's probably carrying something and why he maybe got moved forward. But definitely a cheeky move by Mitchell. Is it a little bit arrogant to do that in a game where you should have been winning by a lot more? I don't know, but not necessarily something I loved from him when I really would have liked to stack on like 8 goals in that last quarter.
Yeah, true. And I just felt like the boys didn't even look for him because I was rooting for him to kick a goal. And there was a few times where they maybe could have sort of given him a hand pass. And anyway, didn't happen. Will be interesting to see whether Sam was just telling porcupines or whether he will sort of persist with that experimentation. Yeah,
I think I would love for the next week, just there be no experiments, play it like we're playing, the top of the ladder side and just see how good we can play for 4 quarters. He mentioned in the press conference, we need to get back to playing 4 quarters of good footy. I feel like we haven't had 4 quarters of good footy nearly all year. So would love to just see a full 4 quarter, like even on the weekend, as you said, in that second or third, they matched us basically with scoring shots. So, a very average quarter there as well. So I would love, a full 4 quarter performance, play it like, we're playing in a final and just see how good we can be because, this weekend did not show, how good we can be, I'm sure.
Well, I'm going to say that Richmond's going to bring it a little bit more than West Coast did. And their pressure rating has been quite high throughout the season. Have you seen what they did to Carlton? And they're not doing it pretty. So it turns into a scrap. I mean, they're half a chance. hopefully we can scrap the win if it turns into that kind of game. But if we do sort of flick that switch and start playing good footy, we should be able to move the ball quickly and efficiently and sort of beat them convincingly.
Yeah, exactly. I mentioned earlier on that this next week, maybe it's just not an instant rebound game. We're not going to go from playing average to playing our best footy again. It might be a slow build up to that, which is okay to have in the next couple of weeks. But we get to a very, very hard patch of games in about a month's time. So we need to be fit and firing for those. So slowly building up our form, getting back into it is good. There's always going to be form slumps in a season. Every team has it. Sydney had it last year. Brisbane had it at the start of last year as well. Those were the 2 grand finalists. So it happens. Hopefully this is our only one for the year and we can go on, and in a month's time we'll just be like, oh yeah, it's form slump. We're back at it now. So yeah, I think hopefully just a full 4-quarter performance. That is what I'm asking for this week.
Yes, well, like you said, we need it. We've done well to be 5-2. Puts us in 4th on the ladder. If we can sort of just keep ticking those wins over and stay in the top 4 rather than just inside the top 8, because it is getting pretty tight, bit of a bottleneck around that area now. So, what did I say? We're playing 5 top 8 teams after Richmond and Melbourne. So, there's a chance. I mean, there's a chance we could drop all of them. I'd like to think we're going to win at least 1 or 2. If we would win 3 out of those 5, I think that sort of keeps us around the top 4 mark. But not getting too far ahead. Richmond's, like I said, can't take them too lightly and just need to get the job done this week.
No, exactly. I think some of the moments on the weekend, if we had even playing against a team like Richmond, who are one of the lower ranked sides, it still would have been a much, much closer game. Like, I think, some of the big mistakes we were making, any team would capitalize off of, and even more if they're a slightly better team than West Coast, who is currently the worst team in the league.
When do we play Sunday game? So Noah Bolter's going to be available with his curfew.
Oh, yes, that's right. I didn't even think about that. Yep.
No, neither did I till then. I was just thinking, I think that's why they sort of dropped off from the Gold Coast win, because that was a very impressive win. I think he was a big part of that. So, interesting.
Yep. That's make sure to, in the comments, leave your predictions for the game, because we'll get to those as we start to wrap it up soon. But yeah, hopefully, as I said, 4-quarter performance, centenary match. We want to, do the club proud by getting the win and getting a nice, strong win. So yeah, as you said, hopefully they get some past players in to really hype them up.
I'd imagine there'll be quite a few past players in the crowd as well. So pressure's on for them to deliver.
Let's have a chat about Josh Ward, who I've seen few people chat about, because he's very, very controversial at the moment. He had an interesting game on the weekend. I thought in the last quarter he was quite impressive, but there was one kick he did kind of from the outside on the wing inside to the middle of the ground into the square, and I thought that was a great kick, and a kick I hadn't seen, didn't know he had the ability to do after the last couple of weeks. So I like that. But also last quarter against the worst side in the league, you need, that's the bare minimum, really. It's hard because, we don't really have anyone to replace Ward. McGuinness is not really a midfielder anymore. Yes, he is when he goes back to Box Hill, but I don't think he's strong enough to play in there. Even when he was tagging, he wasn't starting in the midfield. So I don't think he's strong enough to be a mid. We don't really have anyone else to go in there at the moment with our midfield injuries or suspensions with regards to Nash. So he's going to get some time. Now that Hustwaite's in the team, they do play a kind of different role, but I wonder if there's going to only be one spot there between the two of them once Nash gets back into the side. It'll be interesting to see which way they go. But I did like. I feel like Ward's an interesting one. I'm not the biggest fan of him. I don't know. I don't know whether he's got a future, mate, as a midfielder in the league. Could he be a great fringe player? When he goes back to Box Hill, he looks great. But there's been so many players like that come through. You think of your Daniel Howes, your Brendan Whitecrosses, people like that are dominant VFL players but just can't make it at the AFL level. He's still so young, like he's 21, 22. So there can be heaps of improvement to come. But right now I'm thinking he's out of contract at the end of this year. They probably give him another year, especially with Dave's injury. But, yeah, interesting one. He's just kind of teetering around whether he's good enough to play AFL at the moment.
Yeah, I think all the comments started from Peter's question. He's still still doubt his disposal. Sometimes it's a bit hit and miss. Decision making, but I think what I've liked most recently is he's acting quicker. He's not standing still. A second to take that first step. He's actually at reaction times a lot quicker. So hopefully we'll see sort of some better ball use once he sort of becomes natural for him to sort of make that decision quicker. Because if you make that your first thought's normally the best one, and then I think he finds himself second guessing that decision, the quicker he can sort of decide what he's going to do with the ball and act quicker, I think you're going to see the better part of his game.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting comment that he's kind of just okay at everything, specifying that he isn't a better grunt player than Warp, Nuke or Nashi and isn't as clean as poise as Frenchie or Daisy. That's probably a main point. He doesn't have, an X factor that you can really pull on and say, okay, every week we're going to get this from Wardy. But as I said, they're going to keep giving him games, and consistency does help for young players. Like it really does, especially in a midfield around the same guys. And now that there's a few young blokes getting a go in there, it gives him more opportunity to have some time in the midfield. I do like he's pretty good at like contested ball work. Like he knows how to get the ball out from under a pack. But just some of that decision making. I think speed is a good thing that was always, praised about with Ward when he was younger. And I feel like he did have an injury and just after that, maybe just not been the same. But yeah, speed is something we really need in the midfield at the moment. So we've got getting that a bit with Mackenzie, who's a great burst player. But
if they can get that little bit quicker speed out of Mackenzie, you think hopefully they can add that to Ward as well. I'm sure you'd think they'd be trying to improve that. Whether they can get it or not, everyone's got different fast twitch fibers in their muscles, and maybe he doesn't have enough of them. So, but hopefully he can just speed that up a fraction. And but there's plenty of slow players in the AFL that are really good. Pendlebury's for sure. Your best examples. I'm not saying he's a Pendlebury by any stretch of the imagination at the moment, but if he can, just start. He's got clean hands. When he's kicking's good, it is good. So hopefully he can just start making better decisions and hitting those targets more often.
Yeah, as I said, he's 21. He does have time on his side in that sense. Does he have time on his side in this Hawthorn side? Maybe not, because as I said, he's out of contract at the end of this season. Do I think they'll offer him another year? Probably yes, but I would be a little shocked if it was more than that at the moment. But yeah, he's got time. How many we talk about Dylan Moore, Nelly delisted and then turned his whole career around. So can that happen to him? I'm sure. I think.
Well, it could be depending on that list. Could be fighting for that spot with Huswaite, who's sort of. I think he's out of contract as well, is he? I think
Huswaite is till 2026.
Okay.
Because he got signed. I'm pretty sure he got signed last year for 2 years, which after he had some really good form in the VFL. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah,
that's right. I just thought if that's a competition for one spot at the end of the year, with list changes that happen plus the draftees, So. It'd be an interesting watch, but I think he's fairly safe at this stage of getting another contract. Like you said, it might only be the 1 year, but
yeah. So as I said, Huswaite's till 2026, so he's still got an extra year. So yeah, not necessarily fighting for the spot. We are kind of with the injury today. it kind of shows that we don't have as much midfield depth maybe as we first thought, because we've got a lot of depth in the back line. We've got heaps of depth in the back line. As we talked about, 2 defenders going out this week, we've got about 8 blokes to pick from. We've got a little bit of depth in the forward line, but that midfield right now, at Box Hill, there is McGuinness, and as I said, he doesn't really play midfield at AFL level. So, yeah, when do they start looking? I mean, they put Nick Watson in there.
And Maury had quite a few. Yep.
Yeah, Maury was in there quite a bit. So, yeah, when they're going to have to start looking
Maury had 8, Watson had 3.
Yeah. So, Watson, 9% CBAs, if you want to talk about percentage, and more 24. So, yeah, would like to see Maury even a little bit more in there. He had 50% against Port Adelaide, and I feel like that was probably his best game for the year. So, wouldn't mind seeing that a bit more. But Watson, maybe not just yet, but I get that they want to try some things.
Yeah, well, his first one ever was outstanding. He just bolted past and
exactly.
It was amazing. So, yeah, I'm happy to see him persist in there. And we know how hard he tackles too. So,
yeah.
You just probably got to have him in there with the right mix of players.
Yeah, I think so. Quick talk on Morrison. We had a bit of, I definitely said he's been struggling the last few weeks after the Geelong game. So I thought he played a really nice game on the weekend on the wing. Finally, getting back into that old reliable Harry Morrison that we love. So yeah, I thought he really had one of our best performers, I think, maybe in the top 5.
Yep. No, he's very consistent, and I guess he's in there for that gut running. He pushes deep into the back line. I think he got up there for a spoil with Barras. So he's going from one end of the ground to the other. His kicking's been fairly consistent. So he's not outstanding. He's not a star, but he's playing his role. He's playing his role very well. So, yeah, I like what he's bringing to the team.
I wonder with Harry whether when we get kind of a full side back, or as full as we can get with the injuries in terms of like Mitch Lewis and Dia, when we end up pushing, who I assume Hardwick, and we don't switch Sicily forward as much anymore, whether we move Amon back onto a wing and Harry might fall out of the side. I think that's going to be an interesting
Massimo's form hasn't been quite what it was last year either.
No, I think our wing, I mean, obviously besides this game where we said Harry's going well, our wings have been struggling as a unit kind of a lot, also compared to the rest of the league. Like, they're putting a lot of work into Massimo, just, and stopping us from really switching the ball or kicking, how many times we kick around defensive 50. We used to do it. We did it heaps last year. This year, just not as much. So it's not getting Massimo involved as much.
Yep. Yeah, I feel sorry for him. Sometimes he sort of does the hard work and then doesn't end up with the ball. But hopefully we can get the ball in his hands more often, because we know how dangerous he is when he does have it.
Yep. Another one we touched on just quickly before, but was Weddle. Yeah, I thought he played another great game. That's now kind of 3 weeks in a row after the first three or 4 weeks of maybe not getting involved as much as we'd like to see. Now he's really starting to get into the swing of things a bit more and get up the ground. And I really like when he goes forward, when he goes into the ruck and moves forward. He looks really, really strong down there. I don't know. I know Mitchell doesn't really love moving him forward. He'd rather move someone older, as we saw with Barras. But I think he could be really good for us. Me and Tim talked about this a few times about how much we'd like Weddle at centre half forward at some point, but maybe in the future for Weds. But yeah, I think as long as we're getting him involved every week, and as you said, we've needed some speed just anywhere on the ground at the moment. And yeah, Weddle's really providing that.
Well, I guess he's sort of got that body of a Charlie Curnow, sort of that tall, skinny, fast. So, and like you said, he goes forward for 5 minutes, filling in when Chol goes in the ruck, and he almost gets a mark every time he goes down there. So
yeah, literally,
you're playing down there permanent. I mean, he could be getting 5-6 marks a game, having 5 or 6 shots. But Sam knows best.
Yes, I hope so. I think maybe, it could be something they look to do in the future. But maybe just keep him cooking down back at the moment, because he has also been taking some nice intercept marks as well. Some good grabs that normally Sicily would be doing. Weddle's in there and doing it instead.
He's definitely choosing the right times to spoil and to mark now. I think he's sort of getting that down pat. There was a few times where he's choosing the wrong option, trying to mark when he should be punching, and vice versa. But he's really getting that right at the moment.
Yeah, that's a great point. Definitely something that he's improved on, worked well. So credit to Cade Simpson down there, who's the backline coach. He's got them working pretty well together as a unit, which I think, despite struggling the last couple of weeks, I think one group of players that have been really consistent is that backline.
Yeah, I think our for and against, I think we're one of the best, or conceded the least points. Maybe there might be one or two, maybe a Brisbane or a Collingwood that might be sort of, I think, up in that around the same mark as us. But considering, we've played a few strong teams, that's probably where we're winning our games at the moment, is that solid backline.
Yep, for sure. So I think we will slowly look to wrapping it up now, because we've been on for nearly an hour. It's been very easy to talk about this game. There's been so much to discuss. When you get a win, it's much easier to chat about, for sure. But get any predictions, any comments for the game against Richmond next week. Would love to see who you think your ins are, what you think the margin will be in any guy, any player that's going to have a good game. Would love to see your predictions there. Chris, can you give us your thoughts? Maybe, who you think is going to be star on ground and what the margin will be.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it too much. I picked Hawks in our little chat group, Hawks by 48.
Mm-hmm.
We won by 50, so I wasn't far off the mark there.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, with Richmond being that little bit better, I still think we're going to be up by sort of 34 points, I'll go with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Cam McKenzie might get 30 touches and best on ground. Yep. Would love to see that.
I think so. I feel like we need like a 10-goal win. We needed it this week or next week. Would really be beneficial for our percentage. Now, I'm not going to predict a 10-goal win. I'm going to stick around maybe 45. I think, as you said, talking about getting them up for the centenary match. So I think there should be a lot of energy around the club this week, which is, I think, what we need to just get our game really back at its highest level. But yeah, I'm going to say, around that 45-point mark. I'm going to say, I put myself on the spot here. I think I'm going to say maybe a Dylan Moore, big game from him, say like 20 touches and 3 or 4 goals. Would love to see that from Morey. He's probably one of our players that have been a little bit down on form. I mean, All-Australian last year. It's always hard to back that up. But yeah, would love to see a really good game from Morey in the next couple of weeks. Got a few absolutely crazy predictions here. Jasper in with 4 goals, 8-goal debut, 4 goals. We've got high expectations for this kid that hasn't played a game yet. 7 win by 7 goals. Yep. Hawks by 32, C-Mac 4. Would love to see C-Mac kicking a bit straighter this week. 1-3 last week. I think it was maybe 2-2, 2-3 this week. So just slowly getting back into it. Love to have a game where he kicks straight. Very specific prediction here. Ward 25 and 2 goals. Would love to see Ward kick a goal.
Great clearances. There's a couple from earlier that when we first started wrapping up.
Yep.
Another 30.1 there, and I think that was it.
I think.
Going down the bottom.
Yep.
That's huge.
Right. 2 goals for 500. Are we allowed to run out on the MCG? Well, probably not, but would be funny. I think Gunners, 2 goals away from 500. So actually, I think it might be 1. Is it? He's 1 or 2. I saw them, the Hawthorn media account on X or on Twitter talking about it, and they were counting down and seeing maybe he could have got it in that game, and it was either 2 or 1 left to go. But yeah, anyways, hopefully maybe he can't be sub, Chris, because we want him to get that. I think
would be pretty special in the centenary game.
Yeah, I think what a time for him to kick his 500th goal.
498. I'll just look
yep. Awesome. 498. So 2, comes right 2 more for Gunners. So hopefully he can get those this weekend. That'll be another reason to lift the side. Guinea 3 goals and 30. 128 to 74. Yep. Frost to be playing coach. That's interesting, and maybe something that could happen. This is what I would love to see from Newcombe, is to really tear a game apart. End of last year, without Day, nearly every game he was best on ground and just looking complete and utterly damaging in that midfield, even against, in that Doggies game, against a midfield of Bont, Treloar, all of those guys who are some of the best in the league. So I'd love to see Nuke have a massive game soon, because I feel like he's just not at his best, or at the standard that I would love for him to be at, which he was last year.
Yeah. Since his 50th game down in Tassie, I think did he have 40 touches that game maybe? Oh no, he had a day out. He had a day out, and he's been solid, but like I said, 8 disposals in the first half on the weekend was just a little lackluster. But yeah, he finished strong with 20, so.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I will just address this comment. Are these streams available to watch later? Yes. Once this stream ends, once we hop off, it'll be up on our YouTube channel, Talking Hawks, and you can just go right back to the start. So yeah, all of our live streams from the past, we've been doing weekly live stream reviews for, a long time now. So would love everyone to go back and watch it, because also there's heaps of questions that come in that we can't address because we talked about at the start, which is absolutely fine. But if you want to go back to the start, it's very, very easy to do.
Like, subscribe.
Exactly. Yeah, like, subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to hit the notification bell, which will let you know when we are going live. So about 30 minutes before, it will remind you, say Talking Hawks are going live, so you can hop on. Probably going to be a Monday next week again, just because the Sunday games are a bit hard to get home and jump straight on. So hopefully, we'll be here with you all next week. But follow us everywhere else. Instagram, we've been keeping our stories updated a lot about everything that's going on at the club, any news, all of that good stuff. X, Twitter. We've got Tim there talking. He gave a great rundown of the Box Hill game, if you missed that one. So head over to there. 6 Points podcast will be coming out soon with Timmy as well, where they'll talk, go through the game a little bit more scripted than we do, which is a bit more off the cuff. But yeah, have a listen to all of those things. But as we said, thank you for all your questions and comments on the stream tonight. It's made our job a lot easier. As we said, our centenary match against Richmond on Sunday will be a massive game, so make sure to get down and support the boys, because we know how well they can go when there's a big crowd roaring at the MCG. But yeah, anything else? I think, Chris, that's it for our week, and I think we should just. Are you getting down to the game?
I don't think I will. I've got the kids, and I've got. Was it a Saturday? Did I say
Sunday?
Sunday 3:20. I haven't actually checked the kids' footy games. I've got 2 footy games on a Sunday, so probably going to struggle.
Yeah, well, I'll be there, ready to cheer on the guys, hopefully. And I know that the club is putting on like a pre-match kind of celebration with all heaps of past players there that are going to be doing something. I'm not 100% sure, but they'll be there. But yeah, can't.
Thanks.
Bit rough there, but yeah, I think can't wait to hopefully get another win on the board. I mean, we're sitting in 4th. We've probably had a bit of chat about a little bit negative leaning tonight, but when you're in a lower patch of form, those things can happen. But we're sitting 4th. We're going all right at the moment. We're going pretty good. Not if we were 4th at the start of, if we had said we were 4th this time at the start of the year, you'd absolutely take it. So yeah, let's wrap it up. All right.
I'm going to the Melbourne game. All right, lock it in.
Lock it in. Yep. A few MCG games coming up, which will hopefully can get some big crowds too. So wonderful. Once again, thank you for joining us tonight. And of course, go Hawks.